Alright, let's take a look at programming some Motorola CP200s. For this, the software you're going to need is the Commercial Series Customer Programming Software. The software is good for the CP200, the CP200XLS, the PR400, the EP450, and the CM series, so the 200 and the 300, as well as the PM400. So a lot of radios in this programming software, but today we're going to be doing the CP200, and I'll also showcase a CP200XLS. First thing you want to do is turn on your radio, like you heard by those two beeps. You're going to then connect it via the programming cable. I will put the exact product number down in the description that you need for the correct programming cable. Once you're in the software, you're going to go to Edit, and then down to Preferences, and this is where you're going to select your serial port. So if you just try and read the radio right away, it'll probably give you an error message. So you need to make sure you have your correct COM port selected. In my case, it's going to be COM1, but you can change it with this drop-down arrow. Press OK, and then you're going to click on Read. Okay, in here you're going to see your model number, your serial number, and a couple of other information pieces about the radio on here. The first thing on the left, you're going to use this tree over here to navigate through all of your system settings. So let's start off with our general settings. And here you're going to find your microphone game. You can adjust your alert tones, as well as what your LED alerts are going to be. So that's going to be the top flashing light on the top of the radio. Below that's going to be your accessories. If you are using a headset with this radio, if you want to be able to hear yourself when you're talking, you would check that box. Under the buttons menu, there are two programmable buttons on this radio, both located on the side below the push to talk. You have button 1 and button 2. They are dual function, so you have a short press and a long press. And I'll open up this drop down menu so you can see what some of the different options are. You have monitor, you can change between high and low power, repeater and talk around, scanning, and a couple other features. Below the buttons are going to be your channel positions. So if you've programmed other Motorola radios before, this is a little bit different. You actually order your personalities in the position of how you want them to show up on the channels. So most people, I would say, just use it as personality 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in that order, that just makes the most sense. But you can obviously change that if you decide to later down the road. Below that are going to be your signaling systems. You have three options. You have an MDC system, which is the traditional analog signaling system that you'll hear that kind of data burst at the beginning or end of transmissions. So you can add multiple systems and enter in your information there. Below that are your quick call systems. So if you're going to have alert tones or something being sent out, you can do that in here for both encoding and decoding, depending on your transmit and receive. And then finally, you have your DTMF system. So if you're going to be controlling a device via DTMF, that's that phone dialing tone that you sometimes hear. This is where you'll do that. You'll configure that in here. Okay, this is kind of probably what you'll spend your most time in are your personalities. So this radio has 4 channels. It's a 4-channel CP200. So I have 4 personalities. Within the personalities is where you set up what you would normally know as your channel information. So at the top, you're going to set your channel bandwidth. You're going to set your scan list. We'll set that up in just a second. Auto scan, so if you switch to that channel, or that personality rather, it will automatically start scanning. You don't have to toggle it on or off. You can make it receive only so that someone cannot transmit, and you can allow talk around. Down below, you'll see 2 boxes. This is going to be your transmission and receiving information. On the left is your receive. You'll notice that I have UHF frequencies in here. If the number starts with a 4, that's going to be UHF. If it starts with a 1, that's going to be VHF. Below that is going to be your squelch type. So that is sometimes known as your privacy code. You have options of TPL and DPL as you select here, or no tone or no squelch, which will be CSQ. You can also invert that DPL tone. In the middle here, you'll see that there's a offset. So for UHF, if you're using a repeater like this channel or personality is currently configured to do, you'll notice that one frequency you receive is 466.175 and your transmit is 461.175. What's nice about this software is you can copy your receive information to your transmit just to help you save a little bit of time when you're programming. So you enter in your offset and it will automatically copy that over when you press the copy button here in the middle. Below the receive, you'll see there's your signaling system. So you have the option to select between MDC or quick call, and whichever system you prefer, or none. And under transmit, you have the same option for signaling system with the addition of DTMF. So you can transmit with DTMF if you so choose. You also have your power level. So if you know that you want this channel to only transmit on low power, you can set that here, or you can have that as a toggle option on one of your side programmable buttons. Okay, and the last thing that we have to look at is scan lists. So you can make multiple lists, and you simply just select whichever personalities you want to add and click add. This list is in order of channel priority. So whatever you want to hear first, that will be at the top of the list, has a higher priority. You can enable talkback. So if you're parked on channel 1, someone transmits on channel 2 and you want to answer, if you enable talkback, then you will be able to talk back to them without having to manually switch your radio over to whatever channel it is or personality they are talking on. And then you can select if you want priority or non-priority down here at the bottom. You do also have selected, so if you want to scan, if you're on, channel 4, and you want to scan personality 1, which is on channel 1, then you can leave that selected in there, or you can remove that. That is it for this CP200. Now let's take a look at a CP200XLS, which has a little bit more. We'll do a full keypad option. So you open that up, you'll notice that on the left there's quite a bit more that we can change. You'll notice the serial number is just default because this is just a standard blank code plug, nothing in here. We can look at our general settings. This all stays pretty much the same. Accessories, same deal. Buttons, this is where things become a little bit different because you have some additional front buttons that you can program to be whatever you would like. You also have a programmable menu because with the addition of a keypad and a screen, you're able to actually navigate through settings on the radio. So this is where you'll enable what you want in the menu. Again, your channel position, in this case I only have 2 positions on here, but you can change and arrange those however you want. You have your signaling systems, which is exactly the same as we saw. You now have the addition of phone and call, so you can call via MDC, DTMF, or quick call, as well as having that phone system in there. So you can actually set up contacts because you're able to select them inside of the radio. You then have your conventional personalities. So let's go and look at personality 1. This looks exactly the same. So on the XLS series, you can have, I believe, up to 128 channels, if I'm not mistaken. So you can organize things into zones to easily go between them to organize your zones. So maybe you'll have a zone A and a zone B if you have 2 different sites that you're using them on. And speaking of sites, all of that information is down here. So you can see the sites. If you have repeaters, this is where you will input that information here. You also have the ability to do talk groups. This is different than on the standard CP200s. This is only a feature on the XLS series. So you can enter in your talk group information here. If you guys want to see a video on talk groups on the XLS series radios, let me know. Below that, you'll have your IDs. And finally, you have your scan list once again. So you have a few more options on here on your scan list, and you're able to actually modify the scan list in the radio. Here you can see where you would add or remove things from that list. And that is pretty much it. Once you are done with whichever model you have programmed, you are simply going to press write, and that will send that code plug back to the radio. Now, if you have a whole fleet of these that you're trying to program, you don't want to have to go through all those steps to program that every time. So you'll unplug the first radio that you did, you can plug the second one in using that same programming cable, and without touching anything else, you can just press clone, assuming that is the same model. So you cannot clone a 200 to a 200XLS, if that makes sense, because those have different feature sets. So if it's just a 200 to a 200 or a XLS model to another XLS model, you can do that with the clone, and that will save you a lot of time. If you guys have any questions about any of this or want to see a more in-depth video on some of these features, let me know down in the comments below.